Let's start. So, good evening, everybody. Good evening, good morning, good afternoon, wherever you're tuning in from. You're welcome to this week's Forex Outlook with Great White FX for the 6th to 10th of November. So, as always, we're going to start off with the economic calendar. I think daylight saving is starting for US and Canada, so we need to be aware of that. Next week, on the economic calendar, apart from Aussie that has rate statement and foreign currency reserves, cash rate and rate statement, it seems calm next week. Nothing unsettling that much. Nothing unsettling that much. Still the beginning of the week, so the beginning of the new month. So that's out of the way. We're going to start off with US 100. Which is a NASDAQ variant for MT4 traders. Then we have the dollar index, we have the Euro USD, we have the GBP USD, we have gold, we have Euro GBP, we have pound yen, we have Euro yen. So I'm going to start off with the US 100 on the monthly chart because it's a new month. Since it's a new month, it's always advisable you start off with the monthly chart so that you have an idea of where things are and how to go about them. So looking at this, we have a large candle on the monthly chart, but we should be aware this monthly candle is just 4 days old and it's already as big as the previous month's candle. That means something is about to go down. So if we scroll down to the weekly, we can see that the delivery on this rise is to the downside. Although the impulse is to the upside, it's still correcting this impulsive move to the upside. If we go down to the daily, and I do this, you can basically see it clearly. It's not yet bullish. It's still corrective. It broke 14,429.5 and there's a retracement. Whenever there's a break of a swing low, you're going to have a retracement. So looking at this, going into this new, there's a possibility this may continue down. And if you look to the left, it's at a bearish order block. If this order block is not an unmitigated order block, if you look at this candle here, as this candle with the wick, it has tested this order block. So that gives me the view that if we go into the 4-hour time frame, the possibility exists that this may sweep up into here. That depends on what we see on Monday. No, what we see on Sunday. If there is no gap up, all things being equal, if there is no gap up, let me put back on my annotations. So this is the previous week. If there is no gap up above here, because if there is a gap up, that gap will now become a kind of line in the sand. As long as price does not close back below that gap, if it's a gap up, it will continue to the upside. So all things being equal, this will be looking at this structure point here. If it doesn't break above this on Sunday for a retracement and a long position to sweep here, then if it gets rejected and comes back below the previous week's high, then we may see a move to fill up all these imbalances because we can see them on the 4-hour. So the next pair we're going to be looking at is the dollar index. So just like as I was pointing out last week, remember I was pointing out last week that there's a little bit of discrepancy between the euro and the dollar index. That the euro and the dollar index is not moving that much together. That I had the feeling that the dollar index may drop somehow. Although the dollar index did get to our anticipated target, but it broke out of a range. Now let's start off with the monthly chart. If we look at the monthly chart, we can see that there is this big fair value gap here. And price now is within this monthly fair value gap. If we put our quadrants here, we will see that price got to the lower quadrant of this big monthly fair value gap, and it's dropping now. It's within these the monthly fair value gap. Let's remember that. If we go down to the weekly and see that this weekly has closed as a bearish engulfing candle. It's closed as a bearish engulfing candle. That points to the possibility of further weakness. Well, as we're going now, I'll explain. We have a swing here already on the daily. 1, 2, 3, all these, then 4. Most times when you have this type of candles, the low is very important. Once price goes below the low of this kind of long upper wick candles, then there's a tendency that you might see price move in the opposite direction. If you go through your chart, you're going to see it. So looking at this now, if we drop down to the daily time frame, remember that monthly fair value gap. That's this monthly fair value gap. Price has gone below the first quadrant of this fair value gap and is now between the 25 and consequent encroachment. So if we go into this new week, I have a feeling that this may drop to this consequent encroachment. That is, and if we look to the left, we have all these structure points here to the left. We have all these structure points. This is a bearish order block. It has been tested. So this may likely sweep this low. So if we pull back our notations, that low is coming in at the lower quadrant of that monthly fair value gap. So if this does not sweep this bit on Monday, as if there's no gap on this pair, because we also have to consider gaps. If there's no gap down on this pair, then we would look to see a retracement. Moreover, this is a breakout of a consolidation. You can see it's a breakout of a consolidation. So there's a possibility we are going to see a retracement. So after that retracement, if after the retracement, it doesn't sweep this consequent encroachment, because if it sweeps this consequent encroachment, there's going to be a reaction. There's going to be a reaction. So if it retraces without sweeping it, then that means it would retrace. If it doesn't go back above this weekly fair value gap here, let's go back to the weekly time frame. You see this fair value gap here, it closed below it. So if it comes back to this weekly fair value gap, it may act as a resistance and then send price lower. But if price does this, if price comes back here, closes above this on the daily time frame, then we might see something like this. So that's what we're waiting. That's what we'll be expecting next week, Monday. That's on Monday, sorry. Next, what we're going to be looking at is the EURUSD. We're going to start off with the monthly. Let me remove all my drawings. If we look at this, this is already within his monthly fair value gap. Is already within his monthly fair value gap. And if you notice, it's almost at the top. Now, if the dollar index and the Euro USD all move in opposite direction, the dollar index has not yet gotten to his consequent encroachment, but this has already exceeded it, and it's almost at the top. If we go down to the weekly time frame, we can see that this is still slightly bullish, and there is a fair value gap here. It's very tiny. There's a fair value gap here, which is slightly above the monthly fair value gap, if you notice it. This is a consequent encroachment of the monthly fair value gap. You see that price closed at it, didn't close above it. If we go down to the daily time frame, this is what we have on the daily time frame. So looking into this new week, if this does not move up on Monday, then you'll be looking for something like this. You'll be looking for a little bit of a retracement and a continuation to fill this imbalance. That's that has to completely close up that monthly fair value gap. This is not bullish. It's not bullish. Let's not get that wrong. It's not bullish. Let me remove everything. If you look at it, this is just a retracement of this down move. So delivery is bullish, but its order flow is still tilted to the downside. So this is a retracement. This will only turn bullish when price goes above 1.0945. Till it does that, any bullish move is going to be seen as a retracement to move lower. So the next pair we're going to be looking at is GBPUSD. Hello, can you guys still hear me?
Yes, I can hear you.
So the next one we're going to be looking at is the GBPUSD. We're going to start off with the monthly. I will start off with the monthly. Let me take away all my drawings. So we start off with the monthly. This has come into its own fair value gap on the monthly. This is not bullish. It's bearish. We have a Y. If you look at it, let's zoom out a bit on the monthly. If we do this, you can see this is what we have on. This is just a retracement after the break here, and price seems to be moving back down. But if you pull back the candles, you can see that it's starting a bit of a retracement. There's already a swing high here on the monthly. So this is a retracement from the monthly view to still move back down. If we go to the weekly, if you watch last week's video, I was pointing out this fair value gap. Price refused to close below it. And that was indicative of it still serving as a strong support. Now we have this big bullish momentum candle, which is still a little bit far from the consequent encroachment of the week monthly fair value gap. If we drop to the daily, we already have a close above this fair value gap, this high, and this fair value gap. Price is within a bearish order block of sorts. So going into this new week, if we don't, if you look at the 4 hour, you can see it clearly, this consolidation here. This may still sweep gone for this high. If we put in our notations, we have that weekly fair value gap here. There's a weekly fair value gap here. And see price has closed above it. Price closed above that weekly fair value gap. If we go down back to the 4 hour time frame, the possibility exists that price may sweep 24.24. There's a possibility that price is going to sweep it. And slightly above that level is a consequent encroachment of that monthly fair value gap. And above that, we have this range that hasn't been mitigated. There's a fair value gap there. So this may retrace a bit and still try to power up into this place. Now, looking at the EURUSD and the GBPUSD, if the EURUSD, if the dollar index is to continue down, your best option out of EURUSD and GBPUSD is to buy the GUY. When I get to EURGBP, I will explain. So the next one we're going to be looking at is gold. Looking at gold, we're going to start off with the monthly chart. Let me hide my drawings. If you look at this, we have this one looks like equal highs here. Then, if you look at, let me hide everything. This week is a fair value gap. Now, if we pull back the drawings, if you notice, I've graded it into quadrants. And if you notice, the first 25% was where price stopped the previous month. If we go down to the weekly, there's something that I noticed. If you notice, the EURUSD and the GBPUSD, they were very active on Friday, but gold was not. Normally, if the dollar index and gold are they move opposite of each other. If you have a bullish dollar index, you're supposed to have a bearish gold. But we were having a bearish dollar index and we were seeing gold not actually doing much. If we go down to the 4-hour time frame, you can see that gold was not actually doing much. So that has me a little bit concerned. But looking at where gold is, it still has a possibility to move higher. So as long as this 1953.63 holds, it's gold may do something like this, sweep this low, and then run up to any of the sides. If you look at here, we have equal highs here. So most likely, if it drops, this is going to be the first target. So for gold, gold is still slightly tilted to the upside. Any retracement on it would be an opportunity for a long. We don't have any imbalance here. The major imbalance here, price has gone through it severally. The next is here. But where gold is sitting within a daily fair value gap and an order block here. So if this is to continue up, it may retrace a bit before continuing to the upside. So for gold, any retracement that does not take out 1953.63 will serve as opportunity for a continuation to the upside. So if we look at the EURGBP, now this is what I was saying about the EURGBP. The EURGBP, we're going to start off with the monthly. If we look at it on the monthly, we have this fair value gap here. You see, price did not close above it. Price rallied into it, got rejected. If we go to the daily time frame, you see that there's a fair value gap on the daily. Price swept this high and is dropping. Right now, it's sitting at a fair value gap on the daily. That's what you call a BC, a bullish fair value gap on the daily. If we go down on the weekly, if we go down to the daily time frame, you can see that we had the liquidity sweep above here and then it moved down. So I'm of the opinion this may still move lower to sweep this point. So any retracement on this would be an opportunity for a down. And if you look at the candles, it was a lot of weeks on both sides. So it was a struggle. So this may retrace a bit. I believe it may take out this low because it has already swept buy side and there's no fair value gap here. The only thing you have here is down here. Let's go to the 4-hour time frame. If we go to the 4-hour time frame, we have this fair value gap here. So if I do this, you can basically see it has swept this low, didn't make a new high, made a new low. So any retracement on this would be viewed as an opportunity for a lower move, probably to fill this or sweep any of these lows here. So that was why I said, if this starts to go down, GU is going to gain strength. And as well as any cross with the pound on it is going to gain strength. So the next pair we're going to be looking at is pound yen. Pound yen still has a bullish bias. If we look at it, it has closed above this monthly fair value gap, but it's still within a bearish order block on the monthly. It hasn't cleared this bearish order block on the monthly. If we go down to the daily, and see that price closed bullish on Friday. Sorry, if we go down now to the daily, sorry, that was a weekly. It's coming into this kind of consolidation here. But I'm of the opinion price is going to go for 186.77. Why? If I do this and drop to the 4-hour time frame, you can basically see after sweeping this level, price rallied, broke this high, and is making a new high. So most definitely it's coming for this fair value gap here before here. So for this penny retracement will serve as an opportunity for a long. So if we pull back the candles and pull back my annotations, this is what we have. So we have this big fair value gap here. So any retracement on this pair will serve as an opportunity for a long first to 18 18600, that's the psychological level, then 18677. So the last but not the least is Euro Yen. This is bullish. If we start off from the monthly, we can basically see that this pair is within, there are two big monthly fair value gaps. And if you look to the left, we have almost like a breaker here on the monthly, but this pair is still pushing up. Note this fair value gap on the monthly. If we drop down to the weekly and see that this high here at 15981 has been cleared, price has closed above it. If we drop down to the daily, so looking at this pair, if I put back my notations, this pair will be looking for 161. That's 161 first. Then if it takes out that 161, let's look to the left. Do we have any structure points here to the left? Let's see anything. If it takes out first, it's going to go for the previous week's high. That's at 160.85. Then it's going to go for this quadrant. This quadrant is from the monthly time frame. This quadrant is from the monthly fair value gap. It's from the monthly fair value gap. Let me go back to the monthly so that we can all see it. That is what was graded here. But you notice, since it's a monthly fair value gap, you can also still grade it into quadrants. What do I mean by that? Like now, from this point low to this point high, you can also grade it as a quadrant. And if you notice, price is at the equilibrium of this point to this point. Price stopped at the upper 75%. So looking at this going into this new week, this may go on for this and this other point. So go back to the 4-hour time frame. So for this pair, any retracement on this pair is going to serve as an opportunity for a long trade, a buy opportunity. So if you're looking for a buy opportunity, you'll be looking into this area here. If it dips into here and holds, your first target is going to be here, 186, then 161. No, sorry, 160.85, 161, then 161.05 to 161.20. So, any questions? Is there any questions or any pair anybody want me to briefly look at before we call it a night? Because it's night at my end.
I'm not sure there is.
Any pair you would want me to look at? Anybody? Anybody? Before we call it, before I end the call. Any pair you would want me to look at? Okay, so in the absence of that, I thank you all for taking your time to attend. Don't forget to like and subscribe and share the video. Wish you all a beautiful night's sleep and a blessed, a wonderful weekend and a peaceful week, trading week ahead. So good night, everybody.